Hey guys, so today we're working with Chapter 19, Section 2. This is all about personal finance, creating a budget, sticking to it. I know when people think of money, they always think about what they're going to do with their money. And everyone wants to make it rain. Everyone wants to have so much money they can make it rain. We do not want to worry about making it rain. We're all about saving our money. When you want to save your money, just in case something happens and you can't get it, you don't have a job, you want to have money that you can lean back on. So here's another couple of pictures I really like. So this guy says he's going to make it rain. So he throws the money in the air, and then he says, oh, I'm just going to pick that up real quick. Because this guy is on a budget. So yeah, you can make it rain, but you're going to have a budget. All right? You are going to need to write down the following vocabulary words for this section. We're going to have budget, deficit, loan, expense, credit, borrower, balance, interest, and annual percentage rate. We're going to go over some of these as we go. Let's talk about the basics of a personal budget. There's three different things you should worry about, and you guys need to write these down. First is your expenses. Your expenses are the things you spend your money on. Your expenses are rent, gas, any fun stuff you want, clothes, gifts for people. That's the expenses. The next thing you have is balance. So number one is expenses, number two is balance. And your balance for your budget is anything that's left over after all of your expenses at the end of the month. And number three is if you don't do a good job with your expenses and your saving, you'll have a deficit. And we don't want a deficit. A deficit means you owe more money than you have. At the end of the month, if you have a deficit, you didn't do a good job with your budget. So you definitely don't want a deficit. You guys are going to write down 4 steps to make a good budget. So I'll give you guys a chance to write those down. Number one. You need to make a list for 2 months. You need to have every single thing you think you'll spend money on. So you want to talk with your parents at home. You want to talk with anyone you can. Try to figure out things you spend money on. This will be entertainment, like going out, watching a movie, going to a concert, any food you're going to have, any clothes, your gas, like I said earlier, your gifts for people. Anything you might spend money on. And then you also want to have a miscellaneous. You always want to include a certain amount of money for things you may not anticipate spending on. So maybe $200 a month for miscellaneous, because you never know when you're going to have to fix something. So you want to make a list of all the things you'll spend your money on. Number 2, for a budget, you need to record all the money you get in. Like me, I get money in through a salary. I also get money in through some investments I make. So I add those in as well. You guys may have allowances or money from birthday presents. Things like that. You want to make a list of all the money you get in. And 3, at the end of that period, you want to analyze your data. So as you're going through the month, you write down all of your little expenses. We're going to be doing this in class. You want to write down all your expenses and all your income. And at the end of the month, how does that look? At the end of the month, does your budget, is it a good budget or a bad budget? You know, have you spent all your money like this guy? This guy says, good news, guys. I spent all my money. He bought a motorcycle. That guy did not have a good budget. Or did you have a balanced budget? And if you have a balanced budget, that means the money you saved and the money you spent were exactly the same. And you may want to look at saving money. So look at those expenses. Where do you need to eliminate some expenses? And like I said, we're going to be spending a pretty good amount of time in class working on this. So the next thing we need to cover for budget is a little thing called credit. Everyone has credit, and you have to be careful with it. Credit can be a good thing and a really, really bad thing. Credit can be a great thing. When you're an adult, you have to have credit to buy things like a car, a house. Sometimes you have to have good credit to even rent an apartment. So when you are becoming a young adult and you want to buy things, you want to make sure you pay all your bills. But we'll cover that in a minute. You guys need to write down some basics for credit. So on your notebook, write credit and then basics. And you're going to write down the things that I say. There's a couple of different people involved. One is the lender. A lender is a place or a business that gives you money. So a lender lends out money, and they do so for a fee. So a lender is a place or a business that loans money for a fee. The next thing is that the next term you want to write down is a borrower. You are the borrower. Whenever you get money from a person or a place or a business, you are the borrower. And the last thing you need to write down is annual percentage rate. And in parentheses, write APR. The annual percentage rate is how much fee you're going to pay per annual amount. So you'll hear like APR of 5% or APR of 25%. Well, that is how much extra you are paying the loan company for your loan to get credit. As you build up credit and you show that you're a good person, your credit rating goes up and the amount you pay for interest and your APR goes down. So that's a good reason to pay your bills. All right. The next thing in a notebook you need to write down is sources of credit. There's not like everyone gives you credit. There's specific places. So sources of credit. Number one is a bank. That's the obvious. You want to get a loan, you go to a bank. Number two, grocery or stores. Grocery stores, Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon, they have credit cards. So they're a source of credit. It's very easy to fall in love with store credit cards because they're easy to get. Fill out an application, takes you about 2 minutes. They put you in the system and boom, you've got credit. You've got like $2,000 to spend sometimes. Want to make sure you're very careful. All right, and the last source of credit are actual credit cards. These are your Visa, your MasterCards, your Discovers. That is where people really look at your numbers. You have what's known as a credit rating, and your credit rating is constantly checked. So pay your bills on time. If you don't, your credit rating goes way down, and you don't want that. Let's look at an example. You guys need to write this example down for an example of credit. Let's say you borrow $2,000 from a credit card company, or a credit card or a loan, and you get 18% interest. So $2,000 borrowed plus 18% interest. If you pay it off real fast, great. You owe nothing. You borrowed $2,000, you paid it off, and that's great. You owe zero extra. Let's assume that you take the long road and you want to pay the minimum, usually about 4%. Credit card companies love if you just pay the minimum because that means that they're going to get your money for a longer period of time. So if you ever get a credit card bill and it says minimum payment, you always want to pay more. All right, so on your $2,000 with 18% interest, if you pay the minimum, it'll take you about 10 years to pay that off. 10 years. And by the time you're done paying off that $2,000, you'll have paid $3,142 on average. So anytime you borrow money, you want to make sure you pay it back as quickly as possible. All right. So the next thing you're going to write down is the benefits of credit. So benefits of credit. The benefits of credit is that you can be responsible. It teaches discipline, and that you need credit to buy things. You have to have credit to buy things when you're an adult, or it doesn't show that you're a responsible person. All right. A drawback to having credit is that you can be quickly drowning in debt. If you have too many cards, you can look like this young lady right here. If you have too many credit cards, you can extend yourself out way too far, and it's hard to dig yourself out. If you go real deep in debt with credit, you may have to pay just the minimum amount, and then you're paying years upon years upon years for something that it may have just been an impulse item. So credit is a great thing. Personal budgets are a great thing. It shows responsibility, and it shows that you, even though you may want to make it rain, you do want to be this guy here. and you do want to be sensible. Thanks, guys.